the universe, the earth is being shaken to its core. And this is just the beginning of a gigantic collapse of those forces that have instigated violence upon the earth and an all-out assault against nature and an all-out assault against life, which is a creation of God. And I'm not limiting it to the White House or the United States or whatever. It's against people whose minds are dark to the reality of the light that is God, who gave us the magnificent creation of our forests, our trees, people, animals, all of these things, who have been so badly mistreated by the systems of the world. And so when the things happened with the church, and this as well as the Clinton affair with Monica Lewinsky and all of that stuff, I immediately took the biblical scripture that pointed to the time of the man with the pitcher of water, Aquarius. In this scripture, Jesus talked about things that we're seeing right now. Matthew 10:26, fear them not, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and nothing hid that shall not be known. And you know, he wasn't talking about a religious thing. He wasn't talking about a God thing. He was talking about this age of Aquarius, because he was very cognizant of the sign of the man with the pitcher of water. He told us about that. He was very cognizant about Uranus, because he said the kingdom of heaven is at hand, and the words he spoke were Greek, and in Greek the word for heaven is Uranus. The things so that you feel, the things that you have seen, the fury of nature, the revelation about the sexual assaults against children by the religious, the bringing down of the World Trade Center, the killings that flourish around the world stimulated by religious fanatics of all kinds, including Muslims, Christians, Jews, all of it. And I told you over and over, each chapter in this bizarre drama called life brings us closer to the core, which will finally see the shaking down of these people who deceive, who lie, and who kill for motives only known to themselves. You can't experience these things without hanging onto your chair and thinking, what's next? Because the power of Uranus and the shakings coming upon the earth are not ending. This is just the beginning. And that's why it's so important that you understand about the things of hidden worlds we call parallel universes, and the existence of those who at one time lived with us and now live there. So in plain language, I speak of life after death of the physical body. Now, you would take that down. People would say that, that time when I showed you Sir William Crookes' picture with Katie King, and the idea was, he's saying somebody come back from the dead. No, he wasn't. Katie King is alive. Katie King was always alive. Katie King never died. Her body died. This hidden truth about life after death is so close to being revealed, so close to the point where you will actually physically see and communicate with those who you think are dead. And you think they're dead because of the training that has been given to you. So we've been setting a foundation for this opening, which is going to happen. And as you watch these things, sit back for a moment and think about what we've spoken of here. That there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed. I want to show you a couple of things of interest, which is a news article about the Catholic Church. And I must shout, being a former Catholic Church person, hooray, hooray for the Catholic Church. Let me show you what they said. They said the Catholic Church no longer trusts the Bible. Catholic bishops declare that the story of the beginning of the world told in the Bible is full of contradictions. Do you think maybe they've been watching this program? Or maybe they went to our website. Hey, it doesn't matter how long it takes, but rather if people finally wake up. So we'll score another one for Uranus and Aquarius. But let's see what they say and see if you've heard something like this before when you came here. Right at this moment, British bishops declare that the story of the beginning of the world told in the Bible is full of contradictions, resembles the legends of other ancient East people, and cannot be considered historical. At best, it contains just a few elements of historical truth. They also deny the doomsday prophecies in the book of Revelation. The authors of the document are sure the symbolic language of the book should not be interpreted literally. So I have a great round of applause that somebody, has gotten it. But can you imagine that? They are sure that the book of Revelation should not be interpreted literally. And I would say to you, no kidding. I mean, the thought of frogs coming out of the dragon's mouth and the beast with 10 heads, I never really considered that to be real, but I guess at one time they did. But doesn't it frighten you that people have to finally assure other people that these things are not literal? But I'll tell you there's a problem with this finding. And let me show you what that problem is, and we'll look at the next one here. They go on, the authors of the document offer a simple criterion of judging what is true or not in Scriptures. They say everything the Bible says about the salvation is true. And at the same time, add that we cannot expect total accuracy from the Bible as concerning other worldly issues. And what's that saying is, you pick and choose what you want to be true. It depends on what your particular cult or your particular group says. We want this to be true, but we don't believe that's true. See? In other words, the part of Jesus being crucified is true, but the part about hundreds of people getting out of graves and strolling downtown to the mall, that's not, that's not literal. This type of mentality is what drives the world into this violent nightmare that we've always seen. Anti-nature, anti-caring. It's become totally at odds with creation because they pick and choose. If you have a book and it's a book of symbols in part of it, you can't say that's symbols and this is real. The whole thing is either one or the other, and since it cannot conceivably be literal, that somebody can talk to a snake or talk to a donkey, then the book is symbolic. But they can't deal with that, because there's something in there they want to be real because they've based their corporation on it. But I wholeheartedly support the fact that they now realize that it's not literal. There was another news report from the church, the Catholic Church, which leads me further to consider that they must have been listening to the show. Look at this. Over at 18. Vatican, the faithful should listen to science. Associated Press, November the 4th. Vatican City, Cardinal Paul Papord, who heads the Pontifical Council for Culture, made the following comment at a news conference on a Vatican project to help end the mutual prejudice between religion and science. Papord said Thursday, the faithful should listen to what secular modern science has to offer, warning that religion risks turning into fundamentalism if it ignores scientific reason. The Cardinal must have come here or something. Maybe he's listened to Don's tapes. I don't know. So I'm very happy about those two things by the church, because the key here is to get people to wake up, and in whatever way they can. And these are drastic changes. It's good. Okay, you can take that down. Let's go back to the White House for a minute. With this indictment of Scooter Libby, our author here, you see activity in the White House that is deliberately structured to deceive, deliberately structured to hide the truth from people, to make people stir up their patriotism, to make people raise flags and send their young men and women off to war to get killed. And the cover-up of the lie about this war is so important, so, very, very important, that somebody in this administration would risk going to jail. Yet those of us on the outside are supposed to raise our flags and follow patriotically while the dark ones plot in secret rooms things that we know nothing of. And we opened a couple of the doors on their secret rooms in the beginning. So we call this democracy, and we're trying to get other people to do the same thing. There's a commandment of God taken from the Bible that seems to pour its wrath on those who violate it for whatever reason. Let me show you this commandment that it says in Exodus 27, "You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that takes his name in vain." Now, if you believe in God to any degree, whatever it is, then you have to at least give some of these statements from long ago your attention. Taking the name of the Lord in vain, by most people, is interpreted as saying, "Oh, God damn it," or "Jesus Christ," you know, something like that. That's not what I mean. When you use God to try and justify yourself as being something that you're not, you know, you can take that down. And this is what we see. We see, oh, you know, we're born again, we're followers of Jesus. Well, if you're born again, and if you're a follower of Jesus, a real true follower of Jesus, you'd be a pacifist. You couldn't swing at anybody, you couldn't fight with anybody, you couldn't join any armies, and you could say, well, you know, that's ridiculous. It may be, but that's what's required if you're a follower of Jesus. You can't say on one hand you're against abortion because of your faith, and on the other hand saying God bless America when your country drops bombs on innocent people who have done nothing to you and who had absolutely nothing to do with the hideous thing that happened in New York, 9/11. You kill thousands for a reason which is proven to be wrong. You torture people, and you keep people in prison with no lawyers and no rights to speak, and you use the Lord's name to get millions of votes, and then you set up dark rooms where you threaten people who disagree with you. See, and that's taking the Lord's name in vain, and you're not held guiltless, and so you see there's a penalty, there's a price to pay when you do that. The collector comes around, and as we have seen in the past few weeks, the collector has arrived. Joseph Campbell, he taught mythology at Sarah Lawrence University, about 30 years. He's passed away. But Joseph Campbell spoke of the need that we have to understand mythology to save ourselves from, you know, the reality of these minds that are leading us. He said, Joseph Campbell said, the mythology of our time is Star Wars. The struggle of light struggling against darkness. Now, the personification of evil in Star Wars is Darth Vader. His name was originally Anakin Skywalker. And he was an upstanding citizen. Married, and had 2 children. His mother was Shmi, S-C-H-M-I, who was a virgin when she conceived and gave birth to Anakin. What's interesting about this is the suggestion that Anakin Skywalker was actually conceived by the Force, okay? Not by any, you know, copulation, but by the Force, as Jesus was conceived by the Force. As a child, Anakin could build or repair anything. We'll go to the next one. Anakin was a youngster, and you know, as I said, he was extremely gifted. He could do things that other children couldn't do. He grew then, and he married, and his wife was Padme. And Anakin, when he married his wife, gave birth to 2 children, Skywalker and Luke Skywalker and Leia Skywalker. However, as he grew older, his arrogance and emotional insecurities eventually turned him to the dark side of the Force, transforming him into Darth Vader. You can do the next one. And he became so enamored with the power and his ability to change the world into what he wanted it to be, that his good background and his good beginnings gave way to the dark side of the Force. He's becoming a different person. And Padme, his wife, travels to Mustafar to reunite with her husband, and she's afraid for him because of what's happening to him, because of the way he's changing. See? And she wants to leave public life. And she wants him to go with her and raise their child. But Anakin refuses, telling her they don't have to run anymore because he has new powers. And his new powers can not only save her, but his new powers can overthrow the Empire and make the Republic the way we want it to be. How you know, we're living that, aren't we? You see, there's a reason why Joseph Campbell called Star Wars the great mythology for our time. Before you mislead yourselves, and I don't want to mislead you either, I'm not suggesting that George Bush is Darth Vader. Darth Vader doesn't represent a person. He represents a force. Darth Vader represents a force that comes from good, but becomes so overcome by the power in his hands that he takes a small circle of friends to construct what they believe to be good, even if it's really evil. You see what I'm saying? Darth Vader, who is doing evil, actually thinks he's doing good, trying to change the world the way he thinks it should be. You see what I'm saying? In other words, Darth Vader has no face here. He represents a mind. He represents a mind that is filled with darkness, and a mind that will fight and struggle to form the world in the way that he thinks it should be. He lives within this mask, and he has to stay within that mask so that no light can ever come upon him. See? He can't come out into the light. He cannot become enlightened. No one knows who he is. No one knows what's behind the mask. And that's like all of these people. Like I showed you before, this guy, Scooter Libby. I mean, you know, the White House, he's got his portfolios and his books, but nobody, you know, really looked in to see what was in his mind about, you know, a little girl being put into a cage to have sex with an animal. See, no one sees into the minds of those who seek power and then misuse it, thinking that they're doing good. When you have that, then you have a mind controlled by darkness. You have Darth Vader. And then finally, Darth Vader is destroyed by his own son, Luke Skywalker. He is destroyed by his own. He's destroyed by his own people. And he asks Luke to remove his mask and confesses that he has seen the error of his ways. And then Luke removes the mask and sees the ghostly, pale visage of a sad and withered man. His head is bald, his skin is pasty white from not having been exposed to the light for more than 2 decades, and his face still carries the scars of the battles that have gone on within him. And his weary eyes stare out from dark, sunken sockets at his son and back at a life filled with sorrowful regret. And in his dying breath, Anakin Skywalker is redeemed, finally admitting to Luke that the goodness within him was really not destroyed after all. And this is what he says at the end. And, you know, And Anakin says, now go, my son, leave me. This was Darth Vader. And Luke Skywalker says, no, you're coming with me. I'll not leave you here. I've got to save you. And Anakin says, you already have, Luke. You were right. You were right about me. Tell your sister you were right. What a mythology that is. What a mythology that is. About the very own people. I mean, the people that sit and do these things are not bad people. They are consumed in this thing, and none of us knows how we would act if we're placed in that same powerful position. We're not only placed in a powerful position, but we're surrounded by other people, and they're making suggestions. Hey, if you do this, hey, if we do that, hey, if we do the other thing. And then when you start doing these things and they don't go right, you've got to cover over, you've got to hide behind the closed doors, and it just gets worse and worse, and you sink deeper and deeper. And that's Darth Vader. But salvation could only come to Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, when he had been brought down by his own. When the power was finally taken away, then the mask was removed, and again the light was allowed to touch him. You know, they have to come out from this circle of darkness, whether it be in the White House or whether it be in Israel or whether it be in Iraq or Iran or wherever it is. It is people consumed with this darkness that manifests itself as this violence against nature, violence against life itself. All of the violence and the killing done within the dark finally was proved to the one who carried that saber as being wrong. He finally understood it, because he didn't have to wear the mask anymore. He didn't have to come out and make speeches anymore. He didn't have to come out and sit in the church anymore. He could be himself. At that point, Anakin, no longer Darth Vader, dies and his body is carried off by the Force. You can take that off. But his body is carried off by the godly force now. He finally becomes one with the force of good, see? It's like all of us that before we go into the meditation, we're obsessed by the things that come into our mind. We're obsessed by the ideas and the thoughts and the things that, and then when we come in and we purge that out, we get carried off by this same force. During the victory celebration on the forest moon of Endor, Luke is able to see the redeemed spirit of his father, Anakin Skywalker. So you see, it's not a person, it's an ideal, it's power, it's an interpretation of what is light and what is darkness. And it causes those who are infected with it to do terrible things that are really not a part of them, but a part of the force that they've yielded to. Whether it's the president, the vice president, whether it's a king, whether it's some kind of a minister or preacher or rabbi, whatever it may be. It's the force that they become involved in and yield themselves to, that they now become as a group willing to do anything to make their program fit what they believe is best for the world. And so look at the difference in Anakin Skywalker from when the mask was revealed until now. And that's the beauty of that mythology. See, and I mean, it was like him. And it's like what we're seeing with our own eyes right now. We're seeing a Star Wars right now. But people get deeper and deeper into the pit of that force, where people who have a great education, come from good families, suddenly find themselves having to lie about bringing some terrible punishment upon some innocent people. They have to lie and possibly go to jail, or somebody from, until finally that higher force which we call God, which we call Uranus, which we call Aquarius, causes a crack, a split, and the light shines down upon what they're doing, and they're brought down. And when they're brought down, that is when they're raised up. They're basically good people. They're all basically good people. But they simply cannot deal with the power they've been given. And they use it for evil instead of good, all the while calling that evil good. And they thus fulfill another scripture that I like a lot from Isaiah, and this is it, and it says, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness. And this is what happens. And we are watching it with our own eyes. We're watching a Star Wars, and we're watching, and I mean, it's not President Bush, and it's not this one or that. It's the whole concept of this thing, that violence and killing and raping of the earth and the animals of the earth and the children and the poor and all of these things, that these things cannot get in the way of the ultimate change of this democracy or whatever it is they're trying to push. It's a mass type of a mindset. They claim God, and they claim that their morality and their ethics. And in this country, they're against abortions and they're against gays, but they turn the other way when it comes to war and killing, and they turn the other way when it comes to poverty and discrimination against the underprivileged. They can't stand up there. Let me show you. Darth Vader is alive and well. And all you have to do is watch the TV or read the news to see what havoc has been poured out upon the earth. Wherever it's come. You look over in France now, and people going absolutely berserk. And the shaking. And all of it is inside of the minds, and it doesn't make any difference whether there's police or soldiers. There's rioting, and all of this goes on. It's a form of mind. That represents a form of mind. It is a form of power, and it takes all shapes and sizes, and no one ever sees its true face. When they look in the mirror, they never see that face, but that is their face. And I want to tell you, though, Luke Skywalker, who was a symbol of the force of good, built a lightsaber, and the lightsaber had a green blade. A lightsaber of green light. Do you know what it means? It was the green light that brought down Darth Vader and saved the world. See? Green and light are very important. Not just as symbols, but as a reality of life, because it is the light from above that touches the green of the earth that gives us life. And in plant life, it's chlorophyll. In an animal and human, it's called hemoglobin. It is the light, which is God, that touches the green of the earth that gives all life. In the days of the biblical Passover, they would place the blood of the lamb on the doorpost to identify them. And I have asked you, and this has gone on for some years, to place a green light at your house to identify you. Some years ago, we showed you where this green light was referred to as the biggest power booster on the planet. A protein in green plants referred to as photosystem 1. Let me show you if we can see that. This is from NASA. Biologists conducting space shuttle experiments may be one step closer to shedding light on the biggest power booster on the planet, a protein in green plants called photosystem 1. This is the power, the green light that brought down Darth Vader. This is the power that saved the world. Well, you can take that. Is there a green saber now? I mean, is there a Luke Skywalker? Yeah. Is there a Luke Skywalker with a green saber now coming down upon the earth to strike the earth and bring the Darth Vaders of the present world to their knees? That green light comes from above. The power comes from the light above. And what we're living in now is the Aquarian age. And the ruling planet with the bizarre electro patterns emanating from it is Uranus. And when Jesus spoke of Passover, he said, look for the man carrying the pitcher of water, which is Aquarius. But there's something else, something at hand that is strange and wonderful. Let me show you here with Eta Carina. The magnificent nebula, which I propose to you, is the seventh angel of the book of Revelation. There are numerous reasons for proposing Eta Carina as the seventh angel of Revelation. The word Eta is the seventh letter of the Greek alphabet and originally meant seven. And it certainly has the appearance of an angel. Eta Carina. And something amazing has been discovered now in Eta Carina. But step back for a moment and let's reconsider the green light, the green saber of Luke Skywalker coming down to the earth. Uranus, the mighty ruler of this age, is called the blue-green planet. And its vibrations of electromagnetic energy is such that it is a prime source of the shaking and the magnetic changes that are impacting so many and causing so many things to be turned upside down. So indeed, in this age of the seventh angel of the book of Revelation, there is a Luke Skywalker. There is a Luke Skywalker with green light coming down upon the earth that will destroy the powers of darkness, that will destroy the Darth Vaders of the earth, and that green light comes from Uranus, our own Luke Skywalker, for this mythology. And it is the time of the seventh angel altogether then. The time of Luke Skywalker, the time of the green light, the time of the seventh angel. And certainly you can see the wings of the angel. Looks like an angel. Let me show you the next, if you see in the next slide, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, which is the seventh, and from Heidegger's Greek words, eta, in small eta means pleasure, and in capital Eta, it means the sun. So Eta is the seventh letter of the Greek alphabet, also means the sun. Behind the angelic wings of Eta Carina is the most massive light known to exist anywhere in the cosmos. You can do the next one? So we have Eta Carina represented by the seventh letter in the Greek alphabet. The word Eta means the sun, and as you can see with the appearance of an angel, would we be justified then in considering this as a sign in the heavens of the seventh angel? The seven angels of Revelation, and the seventh angel in particular, are identified in a biblical context very specifically that I need to share with you. And it comes in Revelation 5:2. I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, who's worthy to open the book and loose the seals. No man in heaven, neither the earth or under the earth, was able to open it. And I wept much, because no one was found. And one of the elders said to me, weep not, behold, the Lion of Judah, the root of David, has prevailed to open the book and loose the seven seals. The root of David